Hello, good evening. Welcome to another Sunday night drive-by remix edition of the CantinaMX podcast. My name is John Jagu. I am coming to you live from beautiful downtown Waco, Texas, at least for the next hour or so, as I make my way back down to beautiful Lago Vista on the outside of, well, a little further out than the outside of Austin, the north shore of Lake Travis. Joining me is Joel Aceves, who posted a picture earlier of the LAFC stadium, thinking that he was at the game itself. Turns out he was not, but he is still a huge sport to join us this evening. Joel Aceves, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very good, Yon. Yeah, no, I managed to catch the last 5 minutes of their home opener against Sporting Kansas City. But to me, they will always be the Wiz, Yon.
That's right. They will always be the Wiz.
The Wiz.
Nobody beats the Wiz.
Nobody. But I seen like a picture from earlier. They had a really nice tifo, so I just caught my attention. That's why I posted that picture. Yeah. No, I really do.
I was hoping that you were actually.
No, I need to go catch a game, man. I need to go catch a game. Turns out I actually know a lot of the guys from the 32-52. Some of those guys used to be from the man, I'm forgetting the name. Way back from Chivas USA. So I used to cover that team, and they were the big supporter groups there. Yeah, they were the Union. I think the Union Ultras. Hopefully, I'm not getting their name wrong. But
you can't get their name wrong because then they'll get mad at you.
They transitioned.
Ban you from joining the group. Yeah.
No, good tailgates. So yeah, no, I need to go catch up. I need to go catch up with those guys.
If only there was a way for you, Joel, to get a press pass where you could go to these games on your own.
If only.
If only there was a way you could do that. If only there was a way you could do that.
Yeah, so, no, it's you know, because I was excited when I saw the building being made, because as you know, I didn't live too far from there.
You did not.
And my brother is even closer, so when there was games like at the Coliseum, I would just park at my brother's and walk. But I've since moved, so now I'm like over an hour away.
Yeah, you live in the hoity-toity part of LA now. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not down with the Americanista fans.
Oh man.
And
yeah, my neighbor.
So, just out of curiosity, do you feel like you should go to one of your neighbors a couple doors down and say, "Would you mind, if it's okay, painting this Club America logo on your curb to remind me"?
Nah, man, no. I'm good, Yon.
All right. So you said you got the last 5. Well, it turned out to be the very important last 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, LAFC pulled out the game winner 2-1 to start the season with the pie derecho. By the way, that is so insulting to left-footed people. When people say van a empezar con el pie derecho, well, what if you want to empezar con el pie izquierdo?
That's true. And isn't that how you wake up in the morning, John? You make sure to put your left foot down first.
Well, I mean, I am left-handed, but I am right-footed. But I have to admit that it's, and just the word, you're a diestro or you're a siniestro, which of course means sinister. Just by being left-handed, as I am. I don't know if you are or not. I would assume you are because you're a really cool guy, and most really cool people are left-handed. But most left-handers are really cool people, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I would assume you're left-handed. Are you left-handed?
No, Yon, I'm not.
Well,
snap.
I guess there are some exceptions to the rule. But I find it a little, just slightly slightly insulting. But regardless, FC
Yes.
gets the big last minute win. I'm sure the place went bananas,
Yeah.
and it's
It was crazy. And but I feel we need to clarify because I know we're mostly Mexico based podcast. So bear with us, dear listeners. Our MLS talk will be brief, just because ultimately it's gonna link back to Mexico. So it is
that's
connected.
right.
It is
It is.
connected. Yeah. Because I mean LAFC has Carlos Vela, and he's a team captain, and he's the big, he's the big
Soon
draw right there.
soon to have Giovanni Dos Santos.
Good. Oh man, yeah, we need to get into that, and and then not too far. Well, yeah, kind of far, but still, in San Jose, Mati made his debut with the Earthquakes. He did not start on the right foot, Yon.
So he
He
started on
lost.
the left foot. He started on the
He,
left foot.
yes, yes, but he did go against Toronto, who
Are you sure about that?
what played against Toronto.
'Cause I thought that Toronto. Well, listen to me. Like I'm an MLS expert. I thought Toronto played in Philadelphia. So it may have
Oh,
been Vancouver. Maybe
okay,
you're confusing your Canadian
Canadians.
teams.
Say tomato, tomato. Never mind
Yeah.
that. I was justifying his loss. I was like, Toronto's one of the stronger teams. Um, but I
Actually,
guess
it was the other Canadian team. It was Montreal. So we were both wrong.
how many teams are there?
They have three. There are three
Oh,
Canadian teams in Emma, which frankly
right.
I still can't wrap my head around. But whatever.
I I didn't know there was three. I didn't know there was three. I was figured it was two. I didn't. Wow. Well, good for them.
It
Oh
is
man.
it is
Well.
the Montreal Impact, or as it's pronounced in French, l'Impact de Montréal.
Ah. Hey.
Or l'Impact de Montréal. There we go.
So I take it back. I take it back on Mati. I was trying to justify. I was trying to justify his defeat because Toronto is they're the I'm assuming they're the strongest of the three Canadian sides.
Right.
Um, yeah, so not good. Okay, not good then. You don't want to lose to Vancouver.
Well, I mean, it just goes along the lines of what you said that Mati Almeida is just not a good coach. You've said it over and over and over
I
again
don't
on the
know. No,
show.
I didn't say he's as good as we think he is. I think he has his qualities, but I wish him well. Him and his assistant El Benja, El Maestro Galindo, and then I think we went too far because just across from cross town from the LAFC is the Galaxy in Carson, and they also got a win. And getting the big assist was 16-year-old Mexican kid.
That's right.
Well, Mexican American, I should say. His parents are Mexican. He was born here, and yeah, you could be sure that both federaciones are gonna be trying to get him to represent.
He has been playing for Mexico at the youth levels, but obviously that doesn't mean anything until he's at least 18. So he has 2 years
Yeah.
of whining and dining still left to go. He is Gio's replacement, obviously. That was the kid that they wanted to go with. Jonathan Dos Santos, now, for you folks that don't know, a day before the season started, the LA Galaxy announced that Gio was not going to be on the roster, but was still going to be paid. I mean, he still has a contract. So it is MLS, and Galaxy is one of the AEG teams. So you can basically go to any other AEG team as far as I'm concerned, because it's the same owner. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Gio be relocated somewhere, I'm sure, where there's a Denny's, so that Gio can feel at home.
Could be.
And, but he's no longer playing with the Galaxy, and his brother said it was because the injuries had really taken a toll on Gio's game over the past couple of years. It turns out that he hasn't been the same player that he was when he first started at Galaxy. Because when he first moved to Galaxy, he had a couple of really strong years.
Yeah.
And a player like Giovanni, I mean, let's be honest, he he plays in a position, and his body type is just not going to let him play that many years beyond the age of 30. I mean, those players like that kind of they have their moments, and they peak around 25, 26, and then it kind of slides on from there. They might even peak even a little earlier, but unfortunately for Giovanni, he won't be on Galaxy this year. The quote-unquote transfer window, play international, is probably closed, and it is unfortunate for Giovanni, and I know a lot of Mexico fans, particularly when he made the move over to LA Galaxy, we didn't think it was a good move on his part. So I mean, but by whose definition? Because again, Giovanni Dos Santos was able to, he's going to pocket about $30 million from LA Galaxy, so he has set himself up for life, for the rest of his life, his post-soccer life.
Yeah,
and I think this is something that's very important, Joel, that people have to understand about the world of professional sports, is that, and I work with an ex-player, not soccer player, but an ex-NBA player who I hold in the highest regard, and I hold his they make decisions, and sometimes they don't even make, because they can't make the decisions. But the reality is that Giovanni Dos Santos made this move with his with his career in mind, not the fans' expectations. And I personally, I don't find fault with anything that Giovanni did when he moved to LA Galaxy. As a Mexico fan, was it something that probably wasn't the best move? In that sense, probably not. But again, that is such a small piece of what it is that Giovanni Dos Santos wants to do with himself and his life for the rest of his life, that I just don't find fault with him doing that. Everyone has to do what's best for themselves. Just like the great character Wooderson in Dazed and Confused, when he's talking to the upcoming senior quarterback of the local football team, and he says, "You don't do what they want you to do. You got to do what Randall Pink Floyd wants to do." And that's kind of how I feel about Giovanni. Giovanni's had a decent but not spectacular career, and I think that folks that want to think that Giovanni's career has been a disappointment have to remember, as far as national team goes, Giovanni's career has been defined by the performances that he's had on the national team. He doesn't go to LA Galaxy because of what he did at Mallorca or at Santander or at Tottenham, even at Barcelona or Villarreal. He was at LA Galaxy for what he was able to accomplish and the way that he was able to play for the Mexican national team. And people lose sight of that.
Yeah, which is why it's disappointing he's leaving the way he is. Because I felt if ever he had a chance to try to cement a legacy, to do something important at club level, this was a good as chance as any, especially playing alongside of his brother. And yeah, it seems like no matter what, he just hasn't been able to find that motivation.
Well, this is something that I tweeted to a friend of the show, Martin del Palacio, when he, was kind of saying the same thing I was, and I see Giovanni as a player who was extremely talented. I don't think anybody denies that Giovanni, when he was a teenager and even in his early 20s, showed, someone who had all the talent in the world. Unfortunately for Giovanni may have had I think Giovanni thought that his talent was enough. I don't think that he was the kind of player that had the professionalism to make his talent, to improve upon the talent that he had. And, it takes a lot of uh, personal will and sacrifice to make yourself better. And I think that's always going to be the albatross that hangs around Giovanni's neck. Is that yes, he was supremely talented, but I don't think that he had the Spartan will to sacrifice what needed to be sacrificed in order to make himself better. And again,
Yeah,
uh, and that's just the reality.
yeah, because the club, the Galaxy did, they had offered him if he lowered his wages that they would, he would remain at the club, but he needed to lower his wages. But then it's like if his performance went up, and then they would readjust him. But I guess his mind was set already on I guess he felt that wasn't necessary, and he cashed out. And I believe his buyout, because they had to pay him his last year of contract, and I believe it's at about $8 million.
Yeah,
That's the number I heard. But wow, with 8 million, yeah, it's like if I'm playing a scratcher and I hit the 8 million, I'm pretty much calling my job and saying I won't be coming in.
they're paying him $8 million not to play.
Oh man, well he won. In that regard,
Yeah,
he has his restaurant. What more can he ask for?
that's right.
But so
Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean at this point he doesn't really need to play anymore, as far as like unless just just for the love of the game, but as far as like to make a living, I think he has more than enough to secure something. So it'll be interesting these past you know these next few days to see if he's gonna continue, if he
Right.
will
Yeah.
continue, and I see it kind of difficult. I know he's still a bit of a draw, but what institution is gonna take him serious? And on top of that, he's injured. That's why I felt leaving the way he did, he hurts his career.
Yeah. He does. He does not. Cement. If he cements his legacy again, he cements his legacy as as like I mentioned earlier, someone who had the talent, but never had the professionalism to find a way to always make his game better. Which I mean, but that wasn't always the case. And you have to go back to his decision to leave Barcelona. Remember Pep Guardiola was his coach when he was with the youth side, because Pep came in after Frank Ricciard, and Pep was the one that suggested to Giovanni at the time, "Hey Giovanni, we got Messi, we got Eto'o, we got Henri, we have Iniesta, we have Xavi. I mean, these are five super duper heavyweights of the world of soccer." And he suggested to him, why don't you go on loan for a year, get better, and then come, and then we'll see what happens when because, Eto'o and Henri were gonna, they weren't always gonna be there, but Giovanni and his dad said, no, just, sell us, sell me, and they ended up going to Tottenham, and of course,
Yeah,
Juan de Ramos gets fired, 3 or 4 weeks into his tenure, they pick a guy who was just never gonna, it's like one of the common themes of our podcast. If you're gonna go somewhere, make sure you go somewhere where the coach wants you to be there, because if he don't want you, he ain't gonna play you. And for three
yeah,
years, he was stuck in that situation.
and I heard it was his dad because he had been training alongside of Messi, and I would say maybe Bojan, between the three, they were like the most promoted of the Masia of the youth for Barcelona. And at that point, I think they felt that he was, I wouldn't say maybe not as good as Messi, but good enough to get a similar type treatment, which is what I had heard that his dad, like, it was like what his dad felt. And with which is a big reason why they accepted the transfer to England. You know,
Right.
and to be playing already, and I guess he probably rushed him a bit at that point.
Well, I mean, not
Eh,
only that, he did rush him, but then he goes somewhere where he doesn't play. In a team whose style at that time, I mean, Harry Redknapp. When you think of like the classic English game, it's basically balonazos. It's like watching hockey. I mean, all they do is send long balls to to their forwards, and that's it. And they're running, 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 and run, and hope that they can score a goal on a cross. And
Yeah,
that's Giovanni's. And the thing about Giovanni is that this happens when he's what 18, 19 years old. I mean, and on top of that, he's going back to Mexico every 3-4 weeks to play qualifiers. So it just never worked out for Giovanni at Tottenham, and those were probably the most crucial years of his development, and his development was truncated because of just bad decision by his representation. Imagine if Giovanni goes on loan to Rayo Vallecano or someplace like that where he kind of like Carlos Vela did when he goes to Celta de Vigo and then Osasuna, where he plays and plays well. And then at that point, then make the decision of whether you want to go back to Barcelona or not. And it just didn't work out for Giovanni. And he did have professionally have some good spurts with Santander, and I forget that he was in a second division English team that the coach is like, why is this guy even here? I mean, he's so much better than any player I have. And this was when he was like 19, and it was Roy Keane was his coach. And then he had a couple of good years at Villarreal. But again, where he was most consistent, and I think people lose sight of this for whatever reason, where he was most consistent was with the Mexican national team. And it's the reason why he got that ginormous contract with LA Galaxy, which he's still earning money from, even though he's not playing.
yeah, it was close to 40 million, I think. It's about 34 million, I think, that it cost them.
So
That
it
it
was
cost the Galaxy.
about 10 to 12 million more than the contract that we had to shell out for you, Joel, to join us here on the CantinaMX.
I think it's yeah. Now, which I mean, to me, it's a shame. I know this league has been pushing hard to bring in top Mexican talent, and it's just disappointing to me because I feel that Mexican players aren't taking advantage. You're going to end up losing the market, and pretty soon it's going to be more Argentines, more Brazilians, more South Americans. When I think,
It's already happening.
yeah, and Mexican players are gonna start playing second fiddle to those players yet again. It already happens going to Europe, and it could probably happen coming
It
over
happens
here.
in Liga MX. It happens in Liga MX.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you're at a league where there's a huge fan base that wants to see you, uh, and you got all these teams willing to make it work for you, and you just keep downplaying it. For the most part, I do feel like Vela seems to be on the right path. Um, Jonah seems like he's taking it serious. And then there's Marco Fabian. There's Marco Fabian there who signed with the Philly Union. He scored in his first official match off a penalty kick. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, it's good to have Marco Fabian playing again because again, he's another one who, and that's a perfect example. So Marco Fabian, again, another player who has just an obscene amount of talent. When he was at Chivas, again, talent alone wasn't going to be enough, and of course, he had some extra cancha issues, blah blah blah. Goes out to Cruz Azul, but when he went to Europe and he was in Eintracht, the light bulb finally went off and says, I have to be. I can't just be that guy who thinks I can just show up and play. He had to earn his spot. He had to fight for his spot. He did that with the coach that ended up going to Bayern Munich, the Croatian guy. I mean, this was a guy that didn't want to give him the time of day, but Fabian made him. Give was it Niko Kovac? Was that the coach? Made
Yes.
him put him in the starting lineup. Marco Fabian became a really good player, an instrumental player for Eintracht Frankfurt. Worked out very well for him. Of course, the coach leaves, the new guy's like, "Well, you're not going to be part of my plans." So, and then Marco Fabian had also gotten hurt. So to see Marco Fabian playing again, and then scoring on top of that is great news. And he I mean, I love Marco Fabian. I think that he is just immensely talented, and good to see him back on the field playing again, wherever it is. Philadelphia Union. I like them because they have the same colors as mine. That's a team that I would definitely pay attention to. So I'm glad to see Michael play like that.
Yeah.
All right, so we said we were going to talk a lot of MLS. We've spent the first half hour talking MLS, Hoyle. But let's jump into Liga MX. Some surprising results over the week, Hoyle. We had well, first of all, I mean, we need to get Wiesel on the show because Leon. Oh my God! I mean, where did this? Who kidnapped Nacho Ambriz, and what have he done to his body? Because they are playing a style that is so unlike Nacho. You have to remember, Nacho's nickname was El Sargento. I mean, this is a guy who was he was a terrific holding midfielder, very defensive-minded, just a bulldog of a midfielder for years for Necaxa, and for the national team. Has a haircut that you could set your watch to. Just this very regimented guy, and he is just turning it loose with Leon playing this amazing open field, and they are just. And this is without Mauro Boselli. Don't forget their goal scorer. They are just killing it, and they killed Santos again over the weekend. They are playing some great soccer.
Yeah, a big 3-0 win at home. It's just like their fourth or fifth win in a row now.
Yeah, and they've scored. I mean, it's 3-0, 4-0, 3-0, 4-0. They are.
I think it's 18 goals now in the last 4 or 5 games. I'm pretty sure I'm going off the top of my head.
It is.
I think it's about 18 goals.
Like watching Toluca at the turn of the century. I mean, they are just scoring goals left and right. It is very impressive, and we cannot ignore them any longer. They will not be ignored, Juan.
Well, we were the other day with Chiquis. We were praising La Fiera. Yeah, we were giving them their just due.
If I were a fan of La Fiera, and if Raúl Orbañanos narrates one of their goals, I have to admit that would give me a lift. That would make me very excited. I would get all tingly. It's just he has a great goal call. So to have him be the home guy to call my goals, it's got to be great. They have been playing really well, and
well, I could give you a quick run up of what their season has been like.
Please
so
do.
They opened up at home against Tigres to a 2-goal draw, and at this point León was unknown how they were gonna do. As you said, they had just released their historic goleador. So it was a coin toss, and I would say it was a good result just because Tigres, how strong that team is, and they're one of the favorites. And then they traveled to Monterrey, which is the other favorite. So talk about having like a hard opening calendar off the bat, facing two of the, I would say out of the top 4, both Monterrey's are favorites to win the league.
Sure.
And so they stole a point. Another 2-goal draw. That's already 4 goals in 2 games against Rayados. And then they host Cruz Azul, which were the subcampeones. So I mean, their first 3 games were all difficult, and they this was a Copa game. Goddamn. They still beat Cruz Azul in the Copa game. which was a bit of the beginning of some of the desmadre. Uh, and then they lose to Tijuana, John. They lost to TJ. They lost to
There are,
TJ.
I bet you that TJ has caused a lot of people to lose things over the years.
I know where that's going. Uh, but then they bounced back with a big 4-0 win over Gallos Blancos, away match. And then they beat Cruz Azul again at home 2-0. Then they beat America 3-0 at the Azteca. Then they follow that up with another 3-0 win this over Toluca. Then they beat Pumas 3-1. And now Santos. So they've been scoring 3 goals a game. Like their past, 3 games? Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
No, it is. It's they've played very well, and here on the CantinaMX podcast, that's what we don't always. Now we've been accused, and I don't know how, by of being a Chivas podcast. We are like the last thing from me. I've listened to Chivas podcasts. Chivas podcasts are I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're a Chivas fan, I'm sure Chivas podcasts are right up your alley. But it's and we have had Chivas themed podcasts in the past.
Yes.
But we are not a Chivas podcast. We try to give everybody their due, especially when they play. Santos is a team that we gush over on this podcast. Obviously we'll do the same for for other teams. We do like to make fun of Chivas a lot, and we make fun of America. We make fun of Cruz. We make fun of everybody on this podcast, but we also are respectful enough to give a team their just desserts when the moment arises. And I think that this is something that we've done with Leon. We've done it with other teams in the past. Yeah, Leon has played well. They're doing great. They are along with the 2 Monterrey teams, are 1, 2, 3 in the league. They put a smackdown on Pachuca. Monterrey put a smackdown on Chivas over the weekend, and they're both in the Conca Champions. I was on the phone with our friend of the show, Daniel Forrestine, on Friday night. I was on his show talking about the Conca Champions, where Monterrey is playing Atlanta, and Monterrey they didn't, they barely survived against Alianza in the Conca Champions, and I always feel, Joel, that when a favorite like that, if they escape when they're playing in elimination rounds, like if you have a chance to beat them and you don't do it, then you better look out, because when teams like that get a new life, more often than not they take advantage of it, and I think that's what's going to happen with Monterrey. I think we're going to see Monterrey go all the way to the final.
Well, they did not rest players, though. They did not rest players for their match because they played Chivas. They played all their starters. So let's see if this affects them or not. But I mean, I know they have the depth to field two competitive sides.
Well, Rodolfo Pizarro got a red card against Chivas, and it was a foul, but I don't think it was a malicious foul. But it was definitely a foul that was worthy of a red. And if I'm not mistaken, the game was at the Akron. Is that correct?
Yes, home game for Chivas, which was, I think even though Chivas still in 5th, they quickly lost that cushion, that safety cushion, and another defeat they could easily drop out of the Liguilla comfort zone, which is the first top 8 teams.
That's right, because they're only 2 places from 9th, or 2 points from 9th.
Well, and keep in mind, America has 1 point less than Chivas. America is going to play on Tuesday. They're playing their match against Necaxa because they have 1 game less. So a win by Ame would put them in 5th, and bumped Chivas down to 6.
And Chivas' schedule, if I'm not mistaken, Joel, gets a lot tougher as the
Oh
so
yes,
when they have opportunities to get points, they've got to take those points.
yeah. So I believe they face Querétaro next, and that's Rey Midas right there, who also has a match pending against Puebla. They're gonna play on Monday.
Well,
They're
let's
playing the away game.
stop the presses and stop everything you're doing, because when Querétaro and Puebla get together, I mean, I've even heard Lionel Messi talk about what an important game that is.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Their first game under Buse, they won. They won, I believe it was 3-1, if I'm not mistaken, but they won. So and this was Querétaro, who had gone on a 7-game losing streak. So we'll see what he's doing there with this club. It's going to be a tough game for Chivas. If they could get a point, that would help them. But they can't afford to lose again. They're already coming off of 2 straight defeats, having previously lost to Pachuca, and Pachuca were recently Tigres late to smack it down on them.
They did that. Pachuca had a guy that scored not 1, but 2 autogoles.
Man.
And at that point, you just say, you know what, the season's over. But when you have that kind of bad luck, it's there's not much you can do.
Oh man, yeah, that was Pachuca, which they kind of had a bit of resurgence for a little bit when what's that guy's name? I forget, man. They got the new coach, Argentine, Martin Palermo.
Right.
Yeah, he arrived, but they haven't been looking so hot, and so they're tied in points with Chivas, 7th, but they're also in danger of falling off. And a team that has truly fallen off, I'm gonna say, and you called it, Yon, at the start of the season. We saw Atlas, and Atlas was doing really good, man. I felt good for Atlas, John. Have you seen those videos on Facebook? And it's usually like an abused pupper. You see this doggo that's missing patches of fur, and he's like starving. And then they show that someone rescues him, and then they show like 2 weeks later, and he's all healthy. And so it was one of those feel-good stories. And I thought, oh man, Atlas is finally doing good. They're in 4th. They were like in 4th place for a while at the start of the season, and but they've since fallen, man. They just keep losing, and they're all the way in 13th place.
And that's what's the rhetorical question: will Atlas recover?
Well, you said no. I don't think so either. They just lost to Cholos. They played away to Cholos and they lost. And Cholos is club being coached by the Colombiano Pareja, who, John, you're very bullish on.
My buddy, Oscar Pareja.
Yeah, and they're in 4th place. They're in 4th place. At the start of the season, it seemed like he wasn't going to last long. And I thought, that's kind of messed up if he gets sacked. Just because, I think he deserved better, for the work he had been doing. And I guess he's proving it. He's showing it right here. 4th place, not bad. They're Liguilla bound, Yon.
They are, and it's it's hard because I have to admit, living in Texas, and when Tijuana first came into the league, the team full of naturalizados and Americanos, and of course all the Calis, go down to Tijuana like it's like the big, So I was like, man, I have a hard time rooting for Tijuana. I just do. I did right there. But with Oscar there now, that's different though. So now I have skin in the game. So I do want to see. I do want to see Oscar do well. But no, you're right though. He's a really good coach. I mean, it's if he does well at Tijuana, it wouldn't surprise me at all if teams with a little bit more presupuesto
Yes.
take a look at it. Like the one that comes to mind, honestly, is Tigres, because Tuca's not going to be there forever. That's
He's
2020.
Yeah, he set his retirement for 2020, so I know they're gonna go hard to win. He wants to win at least one more time before he retires.
Exactly.
And if he did win, like maybe one or like one a doblete, I wouldn't be surprised if he retired at the end of the season instead of waiting.
So think of how many coaches have been hired. I mean, just in the past 2 years, 16 teams in Liga MX have hired and fired a coach. The only ones that haven't have been America and Tigres. Everyone else has hired and fired a coach in the last year. And Tuca has been in since 2010.
Yeah, and nine. Well, right now we have 9 match weeks. 6 coaches have already lost their job.
It's insane. I mean, they won't. I mean, usually in Liga MX, I mean, the number is usually like closer to 10 by the end of the year. So that's not a surprise. Now there were a couple of seasons where only like 1 or 2 coaches got fired, which is just so unheard of. But now, now things are back to normal. The Atlas guy won't last much longer.
Oh no. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Marquez is forced to step in. Yeah. Speaking of coaches, La Volpe just recently came back, and he's back at the Toluca hot seat, and he led them to a big win this Sunday, 3-1. And Toluca was just coming from defeat after defeat. I don't know what happened there. I don't know. Cristante had been doing such a good job, and the Nemesio Diaz, the Devil's Cauldron, it was hard venue, and I don't know, this season it went from being Devil's Cauldron to rest stop restroom, and any team would just go in there and take a dump, and but they finally won at home, 3-1. So
let's not put campanas al aire, bro. It was just Veracruz. So
it was, but it's good to start
the excitement.
No, but I mean, they just had so many defeats, so it's just kind of similar to Buse returning and these teams finally win. I'm not saying Diablos are contenders, but I do. These are teams that if you saw that they were next on your schedule, you'll be glad. You were happy to go play them. Now, not so much.
Right.
They're gonna prove more tough.
Speaking of Veracruz, they need 2 things to happen in order for them to, on paper at least, maintain their first division status. The first of which, they have to win 24 points out of the next 27 games, or the next 9 games rather.
Oh man!
They have to win 8 of 9, and they have to hope that Lobos WAP doesn't win any.
So, you're right, John. Just real quick, because I think if Lobos wins just one more game, they're secured, right?
Right. If Lobos wins one more, they stay afloat. And again, Veracruz has to win 8 of their last 9 and hope that Lobos loses all of their matches. So out of the next 18 matches, they need Lobos WAP to lose 9, and they need to win 8 of 9. So needless to say, next week will be Veracruz's. That's when the hammer will fall on their on their relegation. However, remember, there is some the craziness of Liga MX. If a team gets promoted or wins promotion, does not meet the minimum requirements of stadium and everything else to play in Liga MX, then Veracruz can pay a fine or pay that team, I guess, the money to replace them, and they'll stay in the Liga MX. And I believe the other one is that they can, if they pay the money, then they will still stay afloat. And Liga MX will, because they want to go to 20 teams, they'll be one of it. So it'll just be 19 teams. I mean, frankly, I mean, I like Veracruz, and I like they got a great stadium. They're very passionate fans. It could be a really tough. I mean, of course, it's a tough place to play. I mean, it's like playing in Houston in June year round. It is blazingly hot there. But the ownership group and the ownership group historically has been just scandalous, and it makes you wonder. What is it about Veracruz, aside from remembering that it's a 500-year-old city that probably has as much old money in Veracruz as there is anywhere else in Mexico. Is that the reason why they always manage to stay afloat in Liga MX? Because it certainly isn't by the standards that they set playing soccer.
Yeah, it's we have to wonder what's going on there. That Curi seems to have the Veracruz owner seems to have some connections there, because that team was close to being disbanded a few times, and each time it found a way to stay afloat. And I think he's connected, well connected to government officials and whatnot.
Well, of course he is.
So yeah, that's he calls in some favors, man. He must have that red telephone, and then whoever he calls, then they call the FMF, and make sure you find something in the fine print that's gonna say Veracruz.
It wasn't that long ago that in Liga MX, when Querétaro was relegated and La Piedad had won promotion. Well, La Piedad won promotion, but they were bought out by Veracruz. So they go to Veracruz, and then the team that was relegated, Querétaro, Chiapas is a team that ends up getting relegated. So it was like a 5-team combo. Just a very strange goings on there in Liga MX still to this day. So I mean, the reality is I guess we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening with relegation, because I think what's going to happen is a team that's going to be in Liga MX is going to have 19 teams next year. That's my best guess.
Wait, Liga MX is gonna what?
So they're going to have 19 teams because Veracruz is going to pay the money to stay in the league, and the team that earns promotion is going to be a team that meets the requirements in order to be in Liga MX. Whether it's Atlético San Luis or UDG or whoever it is, they are going to Liga MX is going to have 19 teams next year. I'm calling it.
Yeah, it's looking likely that Atlético San Luis might make their return.
They were once Atlético Potosino, back when Neri Castillo Padre played for them, and they were Real San Luis, and now Atlético San Luis. So they're gonna have the same uniforms as Chivas. So Chivas fans, don't get confused when you think that Chivas is playing on Saturday night, and on Friday you see a team wearing the blue shorts and the red and white stripes. That's gonna be Atlético San Luis.
Atlético San Luis. Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. Do you want to do a quick run-up of next week, Clausura, match week 10?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it's a pretty big match week. Isn't there a pretty big game happening next week?
Yes, Clásico Norteño.
The Clásico Norteño next week.
Yeah, so the first and second place teams, they're going to go at it Monterrey is hosting the game at the BVA. And yeah, at this point, you could even say it's maybe you know what they call it, like a preview of the league final, if you want. At least if things stay the way they are, these two are favorites. So big matchup,
Right.
big matchup right there. Big matchup. And then the other teams are not so impressive, Yon. I don't really see a game right here that stands out a lot. Uh, I'll probably mention Cruz Azul Atlas, just because even though Cruz Azul won, they beat Necaxa. Um, Man, there seems to be a heavy campaign to get rid of Caixinha. And just recently, they were starting rumors that Mohamed, the Turco, is the chosen one to come in.
No chance. No chance.
Yeah, that's the same thing. I don't think Pelaez likes working with him. Uh, Unless Billy told Pelaez, hey man, that's it. I'm done with you. Um, but that's another game right there. Just because Atlas can, we've said it here, John. Atlas is the original Cruz Azul, so there will be a Cruz Azuleada right there, man. Either Atlas continues to lose, or Cruz
Well,
Azul loses some
you know,
major points.
let's let's clarify. When a team Cruz Azuleadas, I mean, it's a team that had a
Oh
lead
yeah,
and about to win something big. Atlas has never had a lead, and
no,
it's been so long since they've won anything big
no, it's
that
true. It's true, but you know how it morphed. It went from that what you say is the original. It's the original term, and then it just went to messing it up. It just became, oh, you messed it up. Because like how they were saying that, like for the Oscars, that the film Roma La Cruz Azul, because they showed a kid wearing a Cruz Azul jersey, and that's where they lost.
right.
So they just say it now. But one of these teams, man. And then there's Pachuca Tijuana. Pachuca Tijuana, and what a tough match for Palermo to try to bounce back. I think that's one of the tough teams to face.
Well, isn't Chivas playing Chivas Junior?
Yeah, they are. They're playing Querétaro at Querétaro Stadium. So I don't know right there, man. I know
So it'll be sold out.
Buse, Buse, whenever he could, you know, put the shiv on Vergara, he'll do it, man. And Vergara celebrating his birthday. I don't know if it was yesterday or today, but Buse might give him a gift right there.
Did you send Vergara a happy birthday message, or are you
Oh
blocked by him
no,
too?
no, I'm not blocked by him, but no, I didn't. I did not, sir. Leon faces Lobos Buap, so they might have to wait another week to secure their permanencia.
Who does Veracruz play? Santos.
Yes, that is correct. Veracruz
So yeah,
plays Santos Laguna.
so they will take care of business, and the Veracruz will be relegated. Well, they'll be put in relegation position until they come up with the miracle $15 million or whatever it is to stay in the first division.
Yeah, and
As was predicted. Yes.
America plays Puebla. So, and
And
this, what happened, John?
La Puente is no longer Puebla's, or Ojitos is no longer Puebla's coach, right?
No, it's Chelis.
That's right. It is
It's
Chelis.
Chelis, yeah. Chelis, who was with the Las Vegas Lights. He was coaching Wiki and
How
Freddie
sad is
Adu.
that? How sad is that? That Puebla wants to go back to a guy who caught lightning in the bottle 10 years ago for 2 games, and then like that's the guy that they want to continue to have their run.
I don't. Yeah, they always go back to him. A weird relationship there, on and off. They're an on and off love relationship
He's like the
between.
Cabezon Luna of Puebla.
Yes, yes, and John Pumas is playing Monarcas. So what's going on with Pumas, man? Because
Well, I
one
mean,
one day
I've
they
told
seems
you,
on, and then the next they seem off.
I've told you from the get go that they were going to struggle. They're playing a lot of the young kids. They didn't reinforce themselves very well at all, if at all. And I mean, Pumas is going to struggle to make 20 points. I mean, they have 9 points through 9 games, and that should tell you right there. They're just not a good team. They are not a good team. They need to they need to somehow figure out a way to get 11 points out of these next 9 games, and it's going to be or next 8 games. It's going to be very difficult for them. Pumas, unfortunately, and it pains me to say it, but they are the whole institution is just a shell of their former selves. It is no longer the unquestioned leader and of building players through its youth system. Those days have come and gone. It is a very unfortunate. Pumas is as strong as they've been and as popular as they still continue to be. It's a team that their best days seem to have happened. Have already come and gone, and unless something miraculous happens, Pumas is going to be one of those teams that's going to just struggle. They might make Liguilla every so often, but I think as far as championships are concerned, it's going to be, if they win one within the next 5-6 years, I think it'll be a miracle. Just unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And fans of Mexico should be a little alarmed at what's happened to Pumas, because if it can happen to Pumas, it means it can happen anywhere. I think that for a long time, Pumas kind of took for granted. See, and this to me is what I believe is Mexican soccer's biggest issue, is that they take so many things for granted. They take the popularity among Mexicans living in the U.S. for granted. They take the fact that they're quote unquote stronger than MLS for granted. Everything is finite, and Liga MX never looks beyond what they have right in front of them. It is velocity of vision, and Pumas is a exhibit A of that lack of awareness. Or I guess lack of self-awareness. Wow. Coming down on my team, but it's risky again. Here in the CantinaMX podcast, even the teams that we follow, we have to call it out like it is. I mean,
yes, sir.
You take pride in being a very pragmatic Chivas fan, and that's how I am about Pumas too. I mean, you have to, I'll root for them thick and thin no matter what. But I mean, the reality is that they are an occasional good team that is surrounded by many years of mediocrity. Ouch. Well, Joel, I guess we'll wrap it up. I know you got to get to your job.
Yes, sir.
And
yes,
I'm
sir.
getting ready to turn off here on the highway. So I'm glad that you could join us here in the CantinaMX podcast, and glad that you folks were able to join us here live on the YouTube. And of course, if you are driving to work on Monday morning, and you check your subscriptions, and you have a new a notification that there's a new CantinaMX podcast, well, you're welcome. We do appreciate y'all's patronage. Thank you very much. And we've gotten a couple of reviews on iTunes and on Google Play. Please, follow us. Tell your friends about us. We, a lot of folks have some nice things to say. even if you're a little critical, we certainly will accept that too. We're always trying to make the show better. So anything we can do to do that, we will certainly make every effort to do so. But anyway, go ahead, enjoy the week. We'll talk to you probably on Thursday.
Yes. Yes, Thursday we should do a big. We should talk about Copa America because there's a lot of news coming on about the 2020 Copa America.
Indeed, we will get into that. We'll probably talk some Coca Champions. We'll have a lot to talk about on Thursday. We hope that you folks will be able to join us live on the YouTube, join us on the chat. And of course, if you can't do that, then like I said, subscribe to us on iTunes and also on Google Play. And you will get notified that you have a new CantinaMX podcast to listen to on your drive to and from work. Or if you're like me that have spent a lot of time in the car, it's a great way to pass the time. And we do appreciate y'all taking the time to remember the time, rather, that you're listening to here on the CantinaMX podcast. My name is John Jagu. Thank you very much for joining us, for Joel Aceves and all of us here in the CantinaMX podcast. Wish you guys the best of nights and enjoy your week this week, and we will talk to you again in the coming days. Thank you very much for listening.